Welcome to Faust in-House with State Representative Tim Faust. I'm Mike Howard. Representative, thanks for taking the time to come into the studio here.
You're welcome.
We're at about, what do you say, a month left of the 2010 legislative session? Quite a bit. We've spent a lot of time here talking about all the progress we've got done. And when you take a look back at the bills you've passed this year, you were mentioning that there's really a theme that's emerged, and the theme is kind of bipartisanship this session.
Yeah, out of the 4 years that I've been here, this is by far the most bipartisan I've ever seen it. And I think that that's for a couple of reasons. I think both parties are learning their new roles. 4 years ago, the Democrats took over control of the House. It took a little while for the Democrats to learn how to be in the majority, and I think it took the Republicans a little while to learn how to be in the minority. But beyond that, I think it also, took a while, and I've been telling the other Democrats in the House for 4 years now that, we're not going to increase revenues. This is what we've got to live with, and it's taken them a while to realize that that's actually the way it is, and to stop beating their head against the wall because of that, and just move forward with what we've got, and instead of making a big issue out of it, let's move forward and stop throwing mud about that. And
so when you actually look at the bills, I think it's something about, we've had 108 bills this year, and many of them, a vast majority of them have passed with over 100 votes. So that takes basically almost every Democrat and every Republican voting for him.
It really does, and that really shows how bipartisan things have been. So I think the number of 108 bills have passed this year, and 94 of them had at least 100 votes.
Well,
most
90%.
Of those, the majority of them would have had just about all. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 red votes, but so by far, the majority of the bills are passing with overwhelming bipartisan support, which is a great thing. And that's really the way you'd like it to be, so that everybody is on board with the bills and everyone is moving in the same direction and trying to move Minnesota forward. So that's great.
Well, the Kyle Herman bill is a bill you were a co-author, and it's one of these votes that passed, I believe, with every single support of Democrat and Republican.
I believe that's correct. Everyone voted in favor of that. And this was a bill that, it's just to give people a background on this, Kyle Herman was a student in school. He was a special ed student in school, and he had been abused or mistreated by the teacher, and it was 2 years until his parents found out of what was going on. And when I first hear about this kind of thing, anybody being abused in school, of course, it makes you angry and surprised that this is happening. But then when I found out that that his parents didn't find out about it for several years afterwards, I mean that's just it makes you
it's
very
outrageous,
upset. And outrageous. It's just crazy. And it's one of those things that you think, well, common sense should take care of this, and common sense should say we don't need to tell the schools; they have to tell the parents when something like this happens, but they weren't doing it, and so obviously we needed to do something so that that doesn't happen in the future. And so we passed a bill requiring the school district and the state to contact the parents when something like that happens.
Well, we've got a couple minutes left here. Let's talk about something that a couple years ago you were author of a bill to authorize some bonding dollars to fix up the Hinckley Fire Monument, and we're finally now seeing that come to fruition.
Yes, we both Senator Laurie and I got in the bonding bill 2 years ago the money to repair the Hinckley Monument. We were out and looked at the monument, and they showed us where the problems were with it, and real concerns. I mean, this is something that's been there for 100+ years now, and something that needed to be fixed up. The problem we ran into, which was a problem they ran into 10 years ago when they tried to fix it, was proving who owned it. And so they finally got somebody to plow through all of that, and it really was just, somebody needed to put the time into it that knew what they were doing, and the Attorney General's office, I believe, found somebody, or the Historical Society found somebody that was willing to put the work into it to make sure that we could prove who owned it. That has now been taken care of, and so this summer the State Historical Society will start working on that, and we'll fix that up so that it'll be there for another 100 years.
Well, some other work that's moving forward this April and May and June and throughout the summer is construction on our roads and bridges. The red cones and the detours can be frustrating, but all over the state there's important improvements to roads and bridges being conducted. It means jobs, and some of those are going to be in your district.
Well, that's absolutely right. I mean, they're spread out throughout the whole state. The bridge where 23 connects onto 35 just south of Hinckley they've started construction on that. Just this morning when I drove through there was already some detours going up. So they're working on that. North of Mora on 65, they're doing some work. And like you mentioned, it's frustrating to have to deal with those detours, but it's something that needs to be done from time to time, and fortunately, we've got the money that we can afford to do some of those. And it goes back to putting people back to work, and that's so important right now with so many people unemployed. And so, that's been one of the main focuses this year, is trying to get as many people back to work as possible. So both getting that bonding project done as well as the road projects are all about getting people back to work, as well as safe roads, which are both good things. Well,
it's been a productive session so far. We've got a month left. Hopefully we'll be back here talking about a productive conclusion to the session in the coming weeks.
Hopefully, yes.
Thanks for joining us. This has been Faust in House with State Representative Tim Faust.